Hello, everyone. Welcome to Scientific Healing, and I'm your host, Dr. Anastasia Chopelas. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about core values in relationships. If you have been in relationships that are difficult, you will carry that energy of that relationship. If you haven't processed it yet, you will carry that energy forward and you will tend to attract the same thing over and over. So my bugaboo was that I had an angry mother a lot. You know, she learned this because that's how the Greeks did it. You yelled at your kids, and if you go to Greece, people yell at each other and then boom, it's over. I am not built for that. I just don't like it very much. And so I tend to be, a little cooler in discussions. And sometimes I see that it's absolutely necessary to yell and I'll do it. And then afterwards I'll feel really terrible. But what will happen is because I had that angry energy in my relationship with a core key person, that was my mom, that I tended to attract in my key relationships people that had this explosive temper. Is the easiest put it. You could call it passionate or temperamental or whatever. You can kind of whitewash it, but they were just angry. So in the cases of these, I went through decades of difficult relationships, and when I finally said no more to them, it was because I did a lot of thinking. So I'm a thinker. I'm an introvert and I think a lot. When I thought about what is love, because I hadn't really experienced it in a way that wasn't painful, because I had a lot of angry people in my life, right? So it was very, very painful for me when somebody said to me they loved me. Now, it's always something that you seek, but it can be really, really difficult. So in love, you have all those little cartoons, Love Is, and it's the two little boy and girl who always have like what a definition of love is. And, that's not really what it's about. It's action. So for me, love is action. What it is that you can do without requesting anything in return. So when I had difficulties and I was going to a self-help group and I was off by myself, I was a single mom raising two young children. My son, for example, he decimated every pair of jeans that he had. He just somehow was really rough on him, and within a week or two he had a hole in the knee. And when I lived in Germany, jeans were very, very expensive, and they were like $100. And I could come to Sears and buy piles of them for $15 a pair, but in Germany they were $100. So I bought a big stack of them, and he had managed to put a hole in every single pair that fit him anymore in his right knee. He just managed to do it. I don't know how. And I was at this self-help group, and I was just lamenting the fact that I needed to go buy some more jeans, and I didn't really have a whole lot of money being a single mom. And one of the ladies volunteered to sew patches on the jeans for me and I said, well, what can I do for you? She says, no, never mind. I'm just doing it. It's no problem. And she gave me these jeans that were reinforced in both knees and well patched back with nothing in return. And that was an act of love, right? Because I didn't, she volunteered. I didn't request it. It came as a total shock because it was the first time that somebody had offered that to me. Nothing in return, just let me do this for you. I had not experienced that in any of my relationships. I was the one that was always doing. It sounds like it's my fault, but that's my training. I grew up in a very Greek household. Both my parents are Greek. My mom was raised in Athens. So we got the old world teachings. And the old world teachings were that the women did all of the pleasing work. It was our responsibility to hold everything together. Because, first of all, you're doing it for an effect. So, even though I was doing my duty, I was doing it as a duty to please someone. So I had someone angry and I wanted to keep him calm. So I was doing all this stuff, not out of love, but out of preventing a problem. And so that's not love, even though I loved the man, but I didn't do the acts out of love. I did them so he wouldn't get angry. And that's not really love. So when I do things now, I just do them. I don't think that I'm going to get an effect out of them. And a lot of times I just do things out of kindness without expecting anything in return. And I do a lot of that in my business. I do a lot of free healings. I do a lot of free consultations. And that's just because I care that much that people are going to get better and that they're going to get well. And in the long term, it's not a very good business model. All of my coaches kind of like tell me no, but it's kind of like the way I'm built is that I'm not doing it for an effect, and I'm not doing it because I want people to like me. I'm doing it just as a gift. So love is a gift. It's a gift, it's action, and it is not that need and that desire and I have to be with them and all your hormones are running and your heart is beating fast. I mean, that's a great feeling. Have all those endorphins flowing and all that pitocin flowing and all that good stuff flowing in your body. But remember, it's just hormones. And when the hormones wear off, you'd better really like the person and you had better actually be kind to them. So in my current relationship with my husband, we really like each other. Like we can spend hours and hours and hours and hours talking. And we are very kind to one another, right? So he will bring me little gifts. I will do little favors for him. We do things, and it's not because we're playing tit for tat, which used to be the game, right? Not because we're playing tit for tat, but just because we like the other person and we want them comfortable. Like when, Noel was in the hospital with his heart condition, right? The kindness was me coming to visit him and me bringing him things and making him as comfortable as possible and, fielding all of his relatives' concerns. So I had spent many, 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 many hours on the phone with his various relatives. And I did it because I was, they were concerned for him and I was concerned for him. So these are acts of love and kindness. That's my definition of it. When I was getting divorced from my ex, he kept saying that he loves me, but his behavior was actually the opposite. So there are a lot of relationships, and I recognize this because I get a lot of people that request healing, and I get a lot of notes from people that tell me that, when they talk about their relationships, they say, yeah, they tell me how much they love me, and they will absolutely die without me there. But then they turn around and treat me really cruelly. They're critical. They yell at me. They, they'll threaten me. They'll do all kinds of things. And I have experienced those very same things. And so this was my deep thinking period, right? Deep thinking period in terms of what was love? What did it mean? And when I really sat down and thought about it, I was wondering, how could that person love me but still treat me that way? So in my negotiations with, as we were splitting up, he kept telling me, you have to try harder. And I said, I am trying very hard, but what are you doing? If you love me that much, then what is it that you're doing for that? Because from my definition, love is action. It is not a feeling or an emotion. It's an action that is born out of the way you feel for somebody. So in my opinion, when a lot of people say, I love you, what they're saying is, I desire you, or I lust after you, or I want your bod, but they're not really loving you. So a good relationship, or a great relationship, or a healthy relationship really, really depends on that element of kindness and giftings, because love is truly a gift. When you love somebody, if somebody says, don't love me this way, love me that way, that is also really difficult. So it's a two-way street, right? So you can offer it, and that's a gift, as long as it's a gift that's welcome. You know, that's the crux of it, is that it goes two ways, and you can offer something and expect nothing in return, and please don't expect it. And somebody can offer you something and not, just like the woman who sewed the patches on my son's jeans. She expected nothing in return. She just did it. Like, she didn't want to be paid. She didn't want to be rewarded. We later became very good friends. She was a very wonderful woman. We became very good friends, and she was my kind of surrogate mom, and I was her surrogate daughter, even though our ages weren't that far apart. But we each played a role in each other's lives that was very important. And you know, she just loved me. Like, if I told her something that good that had happened, she would cheer me on, and I would feel like, why can't I have that in, you know, other relationships in my life? So by going through these relationships like that, I started to learn bit by bit what it felt like to be loved, because you know, it was not obvious to me, because of the difficulty I had. You know, wasn't it, my mom couldn't help it. She had her own traumas in her life that led her into those behaviors. And of course, as I got older and as she went towards the end of her life, I got to know her really, really well. And, you know, inside she had this angelic energy, and she was also full of kindness and love, but she was also hurt very badly. So a lot of times the behavior that you're getting from other people is because of their pain, but it doesn't mean that you have to stand there and take it either. So those two things, love and kindness, go together. The acts of kindness are not to elicit a response from the other person, just as gifts of love, right? And love is action. You desire the person, but, you know, doing something about it. You know, any kind act towards them that you expect nothing in return. And so it's also the opposite. You should also expect that you're going to get those things. And of course, be grateful when you do get them, because this is what makes for a harmonious, great relationship. And of course, carrying that old anger energy forward, carrying that anger, I had to dissipate it. And when I learned, first of all, to process through it, what was love and what wasn't, and what was kind and what wasn't, I also processed out all of that need to have that angry person and to try and find their approval, because really what I was doing was looking for approval from my mother. And so I would be around angry people and try to please them. You know, it was kind of like this. So when I released all that old relationship energy, and I did that, I did that with several people, released all that old relationship energy, is when my now husband came into my life about 5.5 years ago, right? So he came into my life at a time where I was in a very peaceful state. And we've had a very harmonious relationship. It's every relationship has its ups and downs, but we're in a really good place right now, especially him having gone through, open heart surgery and recovering, that things are moving in such a great direction because there is really true love and kindness that's happening between us. And of course, last week I talked about respect and trust. And he was one of those people that I trusted completely. And I never trusted anybody in a relationship before because I'd always be kind of like wary and on the lookout and putting up my guard. And when you're doing that with anybody, that's the wrong person to get in a relationship with, no matter how great they are. So anyway, a way to release it is to do a simple relationship healing. And I have one at scientifichealer.com/relationship. And when you sign up for that, you get put on a list, and I will send you out a special invitation to further trainings and further clearings. And there is a new program that I'm just releasing on relationships, and I am beta testing it right now. And so it's being beta tested, and we're going to see how well it works. And I am sure it's going to work great because every other program that I've done seems to have done it. But it could be a first that it didn't work. So I'm making sure that it works. And I'll let you know more about it as time goes on when you sign up for the relationship program. Thank you so much for watching. Again, the link for getting that relationship clearing is scientifichealer.com/relationships. If this was of value to you, please give it a thumbs up or 5-star rating. Share it with your friends, and please be sure to subscribe to my channel. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.